People think working on a cruise ship is like a paid vacation. Sunsets, cocktails, turquoise water. Let me be clear. Once you're on board, you're not in your country anymore. You're under the cruise line's law. What happened on that ship still makes my hands shake. Someone was murdered, and we were ordered to cover it up or disappear ourselves. I was hired as an assistant steward on the Oianis Bell, one of the largest cruise ships sailing out of Miami. Thousands of passengers, over a dozen restaurants, pools, gyms, bars, casinos, even a spa deck with waterfalls. I thought I'd landed a dream job. The pay was decent, free meals, and most importantly, an escape from my boring hometown. The crew was friendly, mostly, but something felt off from day one. Cameras covered every hallway, except the lower deck. When I asked about it, my supervisor, Bria, just said, "Don't go down there unless you're told to." I wish I had listened. 5 days into the trip, a woman named Natasha Weller went missing. Mid-30s, solo traveler, quiet. Her cabin was only a few doors down from mine on deck 6. The last time anyone saw her was at the night buffet around 11 p.m. At first, no alarm was raised. People sleep in, stay in their rooms, and party. But by afternoon, her room was untouched. Bed made, purse gone, passport left behind. That night, security quietly blocked off deck 6. And by morning, it was like she never existed. The next evening, Bria pulled me aside. Meeting, now below deck. I followed her down a narrow stairwell I'd never noticed before. No signs, no cameras. We entered a room that felt like a storage locker, except it had a monitor playing security footage. And 3 men I didn't recognize. They looked military, not cruise staff, not guests. One of them, who called himself Mr. Moss, spoke directly. "A passenger has suffered a fatal accident. You will not speak of this to anyone. If asked, she disembarked in Belize due to a family emergency." I blinked. "But she never got off the ship." Moss didn't flinch. "You'll say she did, or you'll be next." I tried to believe it was an accident. Maybe she slipped. Maybe she jumped. But 2 days later, while changing linen carts, I found something shoved behind a utility closet near her room. A shoe, covered in dried blood. I turned it in anonymously. Hours later, that closet was sealed shut. And the crew member who normally worked that section? Gone. We were told she had emergency shore leave. I never saw her again. It was another steward, Cecil, who cracked first. He'd been on the Oianis Bell for 2 years, knew every secret hallway and blind spot. We met in the crew galley one night. He looked pale, shaking. "She didn't fall," he whispered. "She caught them doing something." "Who?" "The men in suits, Moss. They were moving crates below deck, crates that weren't on the manifest." She must have seen. She must have asked questions. "They killed her," he said, then made it look like she left. I told him we had to go to the captain. He laughed. "Captain's part of it." By day 10, passengers were whispering. Some swore they'd seen the missing woman at breakfast the day after she disappeared. Others said security told them to delete photos they'd taken on deck 6. Then Cecil vanished. His bunk was cleaned. No personal items left. Like he never existed. I confronted Bria. She closed the door, leaned in, and said, "You don't get it. You're not on a ship. You're in a floating country. We don't call the police. We are the law out here." And then she said the words that made my skin crawl. "People pay good money for a problem to go away." I couldn't take it anymore. I snuck into the lower deck with my phone. There were cameras, but only pointing one direction. I followed a long corridor to a steel door. Beyond it, crates, dozens, marked with fake food labels. But I opened one. Inside were electronics, phones, laptops, IDs belonging to passengers who disembarked. Then, I heard a voice. "I warned you." Moss was there, with 2 others. I ran, faster than I've ever run in my life. I barely made it back to my cabin before lights went out on the whole ship. For maintenance. They searched for me that night, but I stayed hidden, in a service tunnel, clutching my phone like a weapon. When we docked back in Miami, I walked off like nothing was wrong. My badge was revoked, my file erased. No one returned my calls. I went to the media. I felt like they were not taking me seriously. They probably thought I was crazy or on something, but before I left, they did advise me to fill out a police report. No passenger named Natasha Weller, no employee file under Cecil. Even Bria was listed as not assigned to this vessel. But I still have the pictures, the shoe, the crates, the names on the IDs. And if you're watching this, never trust what you see on a cruise. If someone goes missing, don't believe the official story. Because sometimes, these ships don't carry people. They carry secrets. And they will do anything to protect them.
They said he jumped, that they saw him hit the water, but 2 nights later, I saw him, walking, soaking wet, right past my cabin. Everyone thinks cruise ships are fun escapes. What they don't realize is, once you're out at sea, nothing is what it seems. It was supposed to be a celebration. My best friend Dylan had just graduated from law school, so we booked a 10-day cruise through the Caribbean. Sun, drinks, and absolutely no stress. We boarded the Riviera Crown, a luxury ship that could house over 5,000 guests. It had restaurants, casinos, nightclubs, it had everything. We shared a cabin on deck 9, 2 queen beds, small balcony, super basic but comfortable. Things started out great, but by the 3rd day, Dylan wasn't himself. He stopped eating, barely slept, and he kept saying the weirdest things. There's something wrong with the water. I thought it was a joke. Now I'm not so sure. Dylan started avoiding the pool deck entirely. He'd sit in the cabin, staring out at the ocean like it was staring back. One night, I came in and found him pacing in the dark. No lights on, just muttering. I asked what was wrong. He said, "It's whispering to me." I tried to laugh it off, but the look in his eyes, he wasn't messing around. Later that night, I caught him on the balcony. He was barefoot, gripping the rail like he was ready to jump. I yanked him back furiously. He just whispered, "You don't hear it, but you will." 2 days later, just before sunrise, he was gone. No note, no bag, nothing. The security office reviewed the footage. At 3:43 a.m., Dylan walked calmly out to deck 12, climbed the safety barrier, and jumped. They froze the frame where he vanished into the waves. Captain made an announcement at noon. Tragic loss, man overboard. Search and rescue crews circled back and scanned the ocean for hours, but they never found his body. I blame myself. Maybe I missed the signs. Maybe I didn't take him seriously. But then came night 5. I was heading back to my cabin around 1 a.m. Deck was quiet, windy, and then I saw him, standing in the middle of the hallway, dripping wet. It was Dylan, hair soaked, clothes clinging to his skin. He didn't say a word, just looked at me, like he didn't recognize me. I blinked, frozen. When I looked again, he was gone. The hallway was empty. I ran to security. They checked the cams. Nothing. No one had been there. I tried to convince myself I was exhausted, seeing things. But the next day, someone slid a note under my door. Deck 6, starboard side, 2 a.m. Tell no one. No signature. Just typed words on cruise stationery. I went, and there he was again. This time he was farther away, maybe 30 feet. He turned to me slowly, his mouth open like he wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then he ran right through the bulkhead wall. I swear to God, I watched him vanish like he was never there. I started asking around discreetly, showed pictures of Dylan to crew members. Most brushed me off. But one older woman, passenger probably in her 60s, grabbed my wrist and whispered, "You saw him too, didn't you?" I nodded. She said her husband went missing on a cruise 5 years ago. Same ship, same route. He'd vanished from their cabin balcony overnight. 2 days later, she saw him by the elevators. Wet, expressionless, gone before she could blink. She said this ship has a pattern. People go missing, and they come back, but not the same. I decided to investigate. Late that night, I snuck down to deck 2, where the crew stays. Found a door marked maintenance left ajar. Inside was storage, pipes, and a wall of monitors. Live surveillance of every hallway. And on one screen, clear as day, was Dylan, just standing outside my cabin, staring at the door. I turned to leave, heart pounding, and someone grabbed my shoulder. It was a crew member. He looked exhausted, pale. "You need to stop," he whispered. "Whatever's out there, it wears their skin." "What does that mean?" I asked, but he was already walking away. On the last night of the cruise, I stayed up, determined not to sleep. I locked the cabin, pushed a chair against the door, but around 3 a.m. I heard it, the sound of dripping water. I turned. He was inside. Dylan, standing at the edge of the bed, clothes soaked, salt crusted in his hair. He looked straight into my eyes, and then he smiled, not a friendly smile. A wide, broken grin, like something was stretching his face from the inside. "Come with me," he rasped. "It's beautiful down there." I bolted, ran into the hallway, barefoot, screaming. Security said I was having a breakdown, but when I looked back into the room, it was empty. No water, no Dylan. They never found him. Of course they didn't. I've spent months researching since I got off that ship. You know how many people disappear from cruise ships each year? Hundreds. Most are explained. Drunk falls, accidents, suicides. But some vanish without a trace. And others come back, but they're not them anymore.
People disappear from cruise ships more often than you think. Most are dismissed as accidents, some are never even reported. But what happened on the Ocean Valiant wasn't an accident. Passengers were vanishing, one by one. No alarms, no investigations, just gone. I made the mistake of looking for answers, and I found a locked door beneath the lowest deck. What I saw down there, I wish I could forget. I booked a solo cruise to get away. 12 days in the Pacific, peace, quiet, and the open water. The Ocean Valiant was enormous. 14 decks, private cinemas, infinity pools, a floating city. My cabin was on deck 8. Interior, no window. Not ideal, but I didn't mind. I was there to sightsee. I needed space from real life. The first 3 days were normal. Lazy mornings, crowded buffets, fake smiles from staff trained to be endlessly polite. But by day 4, things started to feel wrong. Not wrong like haunted, just off. It started with a woman from the breakfast table next to mine. She was a solar traveler too, talkative, maybe in her late 40s. We've chatted twice. One morning, she just wasn't there. Fine. Maybe she slept in. But the next day, someone else was gone. A couple from the excursion group. Then a teenage boy. Then the old man with the cane I saw every morning at the espresso bar. No announcements. No concerns from staff. By day 6, I counted 9 passengers who had seemingly vanished. I asked his steward if there had been any issues. He smiled too wide and said, Sir, everything is perfectly fine. That night, I saw 2 crew members wheeling a cart into an unmarked door behind the casino. It wasn't on any map. No signage, no staff-only plaque, just a black steel door and a security scanner. I followed at a distance, watched as one scanned a badge and entered a code. The door opened, then closed. I memorized the code, 3176. The next morning, the crew denied such a door existed. Even the front desk manager gave me a canned response. There are no unauthorized areas accessible to guests, sir. But I wasn't imagining it. I decided I'd go back alone. At 2:10 a.m., I returned. Most guests were asleep. The hallway was silent except for the hum of the engines. I approached the door, heart racing. I entered the code, 3176. Click! The door opened to a narrow stairwell leading down far below any public deck. No lights, just emergency bulbs every few feet. I went down, 4 levels deep. Then I found it, a door labeled simply Subdeck B. Behind the door was a cold, sterile hallway. White tiles, buzzing, fluorescence. Cameras on every corner. There were rooms, maybe a dozen, all with small square windows, thick like a psych ward or a prison. In one, I saw a woman, the same solo traveler I met at breakfast. She was sitting on a cot, staring straight ahead, blank face, unmoving. Another room, the teenage boy, pale, shaking. Another, the old man, strapped to a gurney, hooked up to an IV. Each room had a number, no names. I stood frozen, trying to process what I was seeing. Then I heard voices. I heard footsteps, 2 crew members coming fast. I ducked into a side closet, held my breath. They walked past, wheeling another gurney. Someone was on it, motionless. Another missing passenger? I told you, one of them muttered. His ID didn't flag. Doesn't matter, the other said. They never remember anyway. I stayed hidden for what felt like an hour. When it was clear, I made a run for the stairs. As I reached the door, I saw a camera move and track me. Back in my cabin, I packed my things. I needed to get off that ship. But at 7 a.m., there was a knock. 2 security officers. "Routine check," they said. They searched my room, took my phone, said they returned it after routine diagnostics. I demanded answers. One leaned in and whispered, "You shouldn't have gone below." Then they left. My phone came back scrubbed, all photos gone. Even my notes app was wiped. I went to the front desk. No one there had ever heard of me. My name wasn't on the guest list anymore. I wasn't just being watched, I was being erased. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed by the door, clutching the metal rod from the closet. At 3:17 a.m., the hallway lights went out. Just flickered and died. Soft footsteps outside. Then a voice, a whisper. My own name. I didn't open the door, didn't speak. Eventually, the sun rose. The ship docked. I left without saying a word. Didn't look back, but I still remember that corridor, those rooms, their faces. And I know this, the Ocean Valiant doesn't lose passengers. It takes them. And once you see what's below deck, you're next.